Hi everyone, welcome here. My name is Oceana. I'm happy to have you. So today, as you can see, I'm doing a book tag, and this is my own created book tag, and I'm very excited. So everyone, feel free to do this video. I'm gonna have all the questions listed down below. But basically, I was thinking of like video ideas, and I wanted to talk about Christian romance, kind of my history with it, but then also I wanted to give recommendations, and I was just trying to think of like how I could structure the video, and then I just thought like I would love to hear other people's answers to these as well. So let's just make a book tag, and it's going to be the Christian romance book tag. And so it does kind of like pair well with my Christian romance reading challenge that I have going on, and just that I love promoting Christian romance. This is my way of just sharing more recommendations and talking more about it and trying to promote it more. I really want people to see what quality romance is out there in the Christian space. So all of the books that I share today will be listed down below, along with all of the questions. So feel free to do this video as well. I tag everyone. So, okay, if the angle changed a little bit, I had to make some adjustments, but here we go. So yeah, there's 10 questions in this tag, and I'm just really excited to share this. So the first question is, what book got you into Christian romance? And I kind of have two answers, but it did for me all start with Francine Rivers. I read these 4 books first before I had read any other Christian romance. I used to think that Francine Rivers was the only option, and then like Amish fiction. That's what I thought was in the Christian romance space, but that's why I read a lot of Francine Rivers, because I loved it. So I read Redeeming Love first. This was my first ever Francine Rivers book and my first ever Christian romance book. And it changed the way that I looked at God. It changed the way that I looked at love, and also at like prostitution, and really what women had to go through in this time period to survive sometimes. And it just like opened my mind to so many different things. It really did change my life. And I just loved this book because of all of the ways that it displayed God's love for me in it. So after I read this book, I was like, okay, great. I read Redeeming Love. That's all that there is. Like, I didn't seek out more because I just didn't know that I could. And I read this, I think it was between like 18 to 20 years old. I don't remember exactly the time that I read it, but before this, I was just reading young adult, like dystopian, paranormal fantasy books, and I had a great time doing that, but I didn't know that there was a Christian option. So anyways, Redeeming Love was the first book that I ever read in the Christian romance genre, and then I did read Bridge to Haven as well later on after Redeeming Love, because this came out, I had read Redeeming Love before this was even published. So anyways, when this was published, I did read it, and it has similar vibes to Redeeming Love. I loved it, the same, 5 stars, such a good story. But again, I didn't look for more options because I didn't know that there was any. I thought Francine Rivers was the only author writing romance in the Christian space. So there's that. And then I also read The Atonement Child and The Chauffeur Blue. There's romance in these books, but it's also about other topics, but loved them just the same, so feels good. So those were the first books that like got me into Christian romance, but at the same time, I didn't actually start looking for Christian romance until I read My Stubborn Heart. So after those Francine Rivers books, I read My Stubborn Heart by Becky Wade, and when I tell you that this book also changed my life, it changed my reading life. I did not know that books like this could exist. This romance, the way that I related to it so directly, I was just overtaken by this book. It gave me so much hope for my own life, and I don't know how else I can say it, but like, this book is incredible. After this book, that is when I started looking for more authors like this, because this felt, it has a similar vibe to the rest of Christian romance. Francine Rivers is her own category, and no one does anything like Francine Rivers does it. So there isn't really anyone similar in my opinion. Whereas with Becky Wade, there are other authors doing things like this. I think Becky Wade is one of the best, but still. So yeah, this book I would say is the actual one that got me into Christian romance, but the Francine Rivers books are the ones that I read first. Am I too far away from the camera? How do you feel? Can we move it just like a little bit closer? Brought it a bit closer. Don't know if that made a difference. Okay. Question 2, what Christian romance book changed the way you look at the romance genre? So I would say it's My Stubborn Heart, But the next series that I discovered was the Christensen Family series by Susan May Warren. This series, I just was looking at the library options. I found the second book. I don't remember the titles as well because I read these a long time ago, like in 2017. So like, yeah, it's been a while. But these books, it's a full series following a Christian family, and they have a ton of siblings, and each sibling has a book, has a romance. Loved it. Okay, I loved this series. So this series, I would say, is the one that got me into Christian romance. I was like, okay, yes, here we go. So I highly recommend this series, and this is what made me really like Susan May Warren. It's what led me to reading her other books, and one of her other books in a different series is one of my favorite books of all time. It's My Foolish Heart. But I found them just by looking at my library. How I got this book is my mom owned it, and she gave it to me, and I read it, and I loved it. So my start to Christian romance is thanks to my mom, because she also got me Redeeming Love for my birthday, and so that's how I read it. So yeah, thank you, Mom. You helped me a lot discover just quality romance books, because you guys might know when I was a teenager is when I read like the secular romance stuff, and it was bad. That was not a good thing for me to be reading, but I didn't know there were any other options, so I was reading them. It is what it is. So then I got Redeeming Love, and then I got My Stubborn Heart, and I was like, oh, there are clean romance out there with faith too, with still like nice kisses to be reading. That feels weird to say, but like, I don't mind reading a kiss scene. I'm okay with it. And these authors do it really well. Okay, question 3 is, what do you love and hate about the Christian romance genre? So a lot of things I've already said about I love it, that I really feel like reading Christian romance is a way for me to see different scenarios of like what love can look like in a Christian healthy relationship. I have, good relationships around me, but at the same time, I don't. And I would love to see more. So that is kind of what these books give me. I know they're made up. I know that some of it isn't realistic, but it still is just such like a hopeful thing for me to be reading. So that's why I love it. I love especially when faith is brought in really strongly. And I like thinking what I would do in different situations and how I would react to whatever the characters are doing. And so, yeah, that's why I love it. What I hate about it, that's a strong word, but like, the things I don't like about the genre. Number one, it can be very cheesy. I will give it that. There are definitely authors that lean towards the more cheesy side. I do prefer slightly more mature, serious relationships. I like reading about that. I love the witty banter and just like the funny, awkward moments. That's very fun. But I want it to be serious as well and as realistic as possible. So what I don't like about it is there can be a lot of times where it feels kind of shallow. It feels like this is just, you can feel that it's made up. I like it when a story feels like it could be real, and that's why I like reading it. Okay, question 4 is, what makes a 5-star read in a Christian romance for you? And for me, I love talking about the things that I love in books. Okay, first of all, I like it when the female character has a strong personality and is sure of what she wants. I don't like kind of like soft, unsure female characters. I still like having like the knight in shining armor kind of thing, but for me, I want the female character to feel equally strong and confident in herself as a person as the guy does. So that's one thing that I look for. And then I really like it when the characters, whether they start out knowing each other or not, that there is a strong like friendship built before any like romance comes into play. So I'm not a huge fan of the insta love kind of thing. I like seeing them become friends. I like seeing them connect over things and actually, get to know each other. I don't mind seeing that back and forth in that conversation. And within them getting to know each other, they start saying like, oh, they're so cute when they do this, or oh, like whatever, like I'm liking these things and having kind of, romantic thoughts about them, but still like being friends, and then starting to be like, I kind of want to kiss you. And what do you think about that? So yeah, I like that. I like the slow progression. And then really, I love it when faith is a part of it as well. When you see the characters praying about what they should do, when you can see that the way the author wrote the relationship, that there's things happening for both characters that actually grows them closer to God as well, and like shows some kind of redemption in their own hearts before they enter the relationship. I really love seeing that. So those aspects all put together would make a 5-star romance. But I really do need to see a lot of like cute romantic scenes with the characters. I don't want it to just be them talking. Like I would like to see some romance, some flirting, for me to like really love it. But yeah, does that make sense? That's my 5-star read. So there's lots of different books and authors that do this really well, and I have several recommendation videos on my channel for these kind of things, so I'll link my playlist down below because I do have one. Okay, I'm very excited. Getting into more like recommendations. So question 5 is recommend a Christian romance to like a newbie to the genre. So someone who hasn't read much Christian romance and wants to. So I'm tried to pick only one book for each of these questions, okay? There's multiple books and I have lots of videos sharing multiple books, but here's one of my recommendations, okay? Love and a Little White Lie by Tammy L. Gray, I think is a great place to start with Christian romance because it is very accessible. You follow a girl who is an atheist, so it's relatable, you know, to some people, and then she's working for a church. She has a romance with one of the guys, and it is about the romance, but it's also about her own salvation journey, which was so satisfying to read about. And then there are like so many good romantic scenes that show a lot of growth in the friendship, but also like are so adorable and like just so nice to read. And then when romance does come into play, it's like the cutest thing ever. So I just have to say, like, this is one of the best Christian romance books, and I think it is a great start to the genre because if you like this book, you can like a lot more other ones, but this is also like the top of the like best. So highly recommend. So question 6 is recommend a Christian romance to a romance lover. So someone who has read several Christian romance books, wants to read more, is able to like get more deep with the stories as well. So for that, I'm recommending Lulu's Cafe by T.I. Lowe. This one is my recommendation for someone who's like familiar with the romance genre because it brings in an element that is like fairly intense, and it adds like a higher stakes aspect to the story because this woman, you start out following her, she is in an abusive marriage, and some of that is described. So it was difficult to read, but it was done very well in my opinion. And then you watch her like run away. So it's about her like escaping that marriage, and she finds herself at Lulu's Cafe and she ends up working for Lulu. And Lulu has kind of an adoptive grandson who has been like helping her make sure the cafe is okay, and it's a romance with them. I loved it. It was a lot about like this girl healing from everything that's happened to her, but then also like building a very strong friendship with the guy before any romance happened. It's slow burn in that sense, but still very satisfying because they had a lot of scenes together because she had to learn to trust him because she did not trust anyone when it first started. And so to see that development, like clearly they had to get to know each other and be friends for her to trust him. So I really liked seeing that growth. So it's a bit more of a slow burn, and that's why I would say if you're a seasoned romance reader, you could really like this, and just highly recommend. Great faith content as well. So then we come to question 7, which is recommend a contemporary and a historical Christian romance. So one you haven't talked about yet is the idea there. So a contemporary recommendation, my bread and butter, but here we go. This is one, Then There Was You by Kara Isaac. This is so good. It's set in Australia and it is very funny. You follow this American girl who moves to Australia for a time because she needs to get away from her life, and she ends up working for a church. And actually it's the pastor's son that she has a romance with. But again, this is almost a little bit like enemies to lovers because they both are like skeptical of each other. They butt heads all the time. They're always like catching each other in awkward, funny situations. And it's just like so funny. But then you really see them working together, getting to know each other, becoming friends. They clearly are really good friends. And then that's when romance comes in. And just seeing all of that play out was so fun. So yeah, I love this contemporary story, and I highly recommend it. It's good. And for historical, there's a lot I could share, but this feels like very historical. This is like Regency. So this was in my favorites video of 2023. It's A Noble Masquerade by Christy Ann Hunter. So this is a start of a series, but it is like fully set in Regency England times where they're going to dances. A lot of that kind of setting affects how the plot goes, but it's very much centered around this romance. There is good faith content as well, and it's very funny. So definitely recommend this one. This is so fun. Okay. So question 8 is recommend a booktuber who reads/reviews Christian romance. So to kind of help everyone find more accounts to follow who read Christian romance and review them. I have 4 people that I'll recommend. It's meant to only be one, but how can we say only one? So the 2 you guys probably already know about are book lover Amanda. She reviews a wide range of different genres, but it's mostly all Christian fiction. She does read a little bit of secular too, and she is a great reviewer. So she has an Instagram and a YouTube channel, but I'll link the YouTube channel down below. Highly recommend. She's a good friend and I love her. Get her to 2K, you guys. And then the next one is Katie from Paperbacks and Ponytails. I always forget her name. Paperbacks and Ponytails, yeah. So yeah, she also reviews quite a bit, a lot of Christian fiction, but she does also read other secular fiction. And both of those people post a lot on their channels. So you'll get a lot of regular content from them, which is nice. And then I wanted to share Jane Reads. She also shares a lot about Christian fiction and Christian romance in particular. So if you want another YouTuber to follow. And then also Lou from Christian Faith and Fiction. She also posts semi-regularly and talks about Christian fiction and romance fairly a lot. So I'll link those 4 people down below if you want to find more Christian romance recommendations. So question 9 is the swooniest male love interest in a Christian romance. And I do have a video about this actually called My Favorite Male Love Interest, which I'll link down below, but I kind of want to make an updated one because this is fun, right? Okay. But I think, see, it's really hard to pick, but one of the top, he would be probably in the top 2, honestly, is Asher from My Hope Next Door. This book, this is the cutest, like actual, like deep, oh, so good Christian romance, you guys, like seriously. And Asher though, come on, like he is a dream man. So yeah, highly recommend. He's definitely one of the swooniest because he's like a carpenter. He like works on his deck and he's like, you know, doing work on his house, and then she like watches him over the fence and like they become friends, and it's like the cutest thing ever. So love forever this book. Okay, and then question 10 is recommend a standalone and recommend a series. So yeah, I wanted to have like some more recommendations in here. So standalone, Before I Called You Mine, Nicole Deese. Another swoony male love interest, I just have to say. And this is so nice. It's a standalone and it's really solid. It's so cool. And it's about something interesting that you don't see that very often. So it's about this single woman who really wants to be a mom. And so she starts the process of adopting as a single woman. And then she meets a guy and she's like, oh snap, I was adopting as a single woman. Now I meet this guy. Which one do I pick? Because she can't get into a relationship and qualified to be a single woman adopting someone. So yeah, but you watch that play out, and really the romance, because it was so strong, because these characters clearly were so good together and so well paired, it felt like such a dilemma. Like, what will she do? She wants to be a mom, but she also wants to get in a relationship, and she feels called to adopt, to like, you know, save a child and give them a home, but then she can't be in a relationship. So it just was like so good. You saw a lot of like cute moments between her and the guy, but then a lot of like strong faith content, because she had to really decide like, what do I do, God? What are you calling me to? Like, why did I meet this guy in the middle of me adopting? So it was really good for that, and a super solid standalone. One of Nicole Deese's best, in my opinion. And then a series. Yes. This, okay, after My Stubborn Heart, the Misty River Romance trilogy by Becky Wade is, are you kidding me? 5-star books, okay? Stay with me. It's so funny, so good. Like, seriously, this trilogy is one of the best. I almost could argue it's the best Christian romance trilogy on the market right now. I'm just gonna say it. Becky Wade's writing, she's so good at telling a story. She's so good at writing characters and romance and a bit of mystery in all three. So good. Highly recommend these books. Yes. Okay. So yeah, and very unique and different. Like, just all three are so good. So highly recommend this trilogy. Okay, so that is the book tag, you guys. This was so fun. See, I was looking for a way to like talk about books like this, and so I was like, let's just do a tag, because now all of you can do it too. So leave your answers down below. Booktubers, make a video for this. Let's, tag this around, get it circulating, because I want to see your answers, because I'm always looking for more. And yeah, I mean, this is just the tip of the iceberg. There are so many good books out there. And I mean, I can't talk about every single one in this video, but here's some good starting points. Once again, I'll link all of my recommendation videos down below that I've done for Christian romance. I have so many, lots of different options for you. So check them out. And that's everything. Thank you so much for watching, you guys. Have a good one.